Good evening, everyone. I know that you're all sitting there thinking, Michael McEwen is looking a little bit strange tonight. But you're right, it's not Michael McEwen, it's Maureen McGonigle. I'm the Chief Executive of Scottish Women in Sport. Tonight we're taking over the airwaves because tonight this is Locker Women in Sport. So my thanks to Michael for the opportunity to focus on all things women in sport and to Graham for his technical support. Let me tell you a little bit of Swiss before we start. So we're actually celebrating our 10th birthday this year. So for me, after 20 years working for Scottish women's football, I set up this charity basically to raise the profile and to create more awareness around all aspects of women in sport. And, we're not doing too bad since then. So tonight I've got three different guests, all who have an interest in women in sport. And they're Robert Nesbitt, Head of Physical Activity and Sport for SAMH, that's the Scottish Association for Mental Health. Andy Niven and his daughter Rowan, who's a Scottish squash champion. And Kirsty McNabb, who is the CEO of Scottish Sports Future. So without further ado, Robert, it's you and me to have a chat, and I think we're quite good at that, so I'm not worried too much.
I think we're quite good at that, but thanks very much for inviting me along. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you're very welcome. And what I would say, first of all, is tell me a little bit more about your role and what it entails, because I think it's going to be good for us to delve a little bit deeper into all the aspects that you have when you work in sport. But you're Head of Sport and Physical Activity for SAMH. What does that mean?
Yeah, it was interesting. So happy birthday to Scottish Women in Sport. We're the charity I work for, SAMH, which I'm very proud to work for and very lucky to work for. We're actually celebrating our 100th year. And the reason I'm highlighting that as well was we were founded back in 1923, and it was by a woman, Dr. Kate Fraser, who was championing the rights for people with mental health problems back then. And that hasn't changed in the 100 years. We're still doing that. In terms of the role that I have, it's all about the power of physical activity, sport, movement, and supporting individuals around recognizing the impact that can have on people's mental health and their well-being. So I'm in a really fortunate position to help in the development, design, delivery of programs around that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fabulous. I think the first time I became aware of SAMH within sport was when I was seeing all the Scottish governing bodies signing up to your charter.
Yeah.
So can you explain a wee bit more to me what the charter is, what they have to do, how that helps them?
I can. Our chief exec, Billy Watson, when he came, he's been with us, I think, now about 13, 14 years. He really saw the power of sport, a great lover of sport. And so we need to do something. So about 14 years ago, we began in this area to really look at this. And then the charter came about. The charter's been going probably about, I think now 5 years. And the charter's all about breaking down barriers. It's about getting community clubs, organisations that are in the physical activity and sports world, communities across Scotland to actually play their part in promoting good mental health, breaking down barriers that influence people, that stops them from participating, engaging and achieving in physical activity and sport. So that's what it's about. But as a big part of that, we support those communities in the design of tools and resources that can help them realise that.
Can people still sign up to it, Robert? Is it closed now, or is it still open for any
No. It's growing from strength to strength, actually. Active Scotland have actually supported the charter for the last couple of years and continue to support it. So there's two elements to the charter. If you are a large, medium to large size organisation with a SAPH, you can sign up to one part of the charter, which is about developing an action plan and showing the part that you want to play that. But last year, we launched the club and community part of the charter. And that recognised this rich group of volunteers and people out there working within clubs right across sports, right across physical activity. And they also can sign up to the charter. It's really easy to do. You just go to our website, SAMH, www.samh.org.uk, and then follow the links towards the charter and you can sign up there.
Oh, that's perfect. So for a while, I've also noticed you've been running a thing called, I think it's a changing room. And you focus on men's mental health, and you work with football clubs. You've got Aberdeen, you've got Hearts, you've got Hibs, you've got Rangers, which, you know, is amazing to have these top level clubs support it. But then, lo and behold, you've actually now encouraged it for women. So I would be keen to hear a wee bit more about the success for the men and how it's now working with the women.
We're really lucky. We applied for funding from Movember, who is a global men's charity who do fantastic work in this, and they were really the partnership they created was so helpful to us because they helped us to develop the idea. They gave us funding to pilot the idea. We originally piloted in Hibs and Hearts in Edinburgh. We were really successful with that. We saw the real influence and impact it was having on men's life. Men actually going and getting support. One guy, I was talking to him recently, and I've got to tell this story. Actually, the changing room saved his life because he wasn't in a great place. But he came along to the changing room, and because of the way the men in those changing room were there and talking to him and supporting those peer-to-peer support, he actually came and he explained that. He explained where he was at, and those men wrapped around him supporting. So we've got this program that really makes a difference in men's life. And we've been developing that. So we started in 2 clubs. We've now got something, I think it's 24 clubs across Scotland who have all signed up. You named a few of them there who stand out, right across the country, who is delivering. We train them up to deliver the changing room. But what happened was last year, we were noticing more and more that there was a number of women that was asking us about the changing room. And what we're trying to do right now is test the changing out. So in St Mirren, we've got a group there that's going, and we're testing it out so that we can understand it. Because the great thing about the program is it's the men and the women that come into the program that help to shape it. So they influence what we do, they influence how things are. So we're testing it out, we're piloting it with women, and we're seeing some really good results again here. We've got women who are coming and sharing their experience about mental health, the challenges that they face, but we're also looking at how we can promote self-care and break down those barriers.
I mean, this is an obvious question. Is it women that are involved in playing football, or can they come from outside playing football?
They can come from all over. So you can have a love of football. You can be in the community where that football club is, and you hear about it there. So you can then come into that. So it's not about whether you play, but we've had people that come in and they play football, and they heard about it and they want to come join. So a whole variety of different walks of life and experiences.
And I suppose the question again is it still open if people are interested in how, do they just contact Sam H, as you said earlier?
You can contact us. You can go through, you can email us, and then we'll respond to that and see where we are. We're testing it out. So we're piloting the group of women because we want to get it right. And that's the important thing. It's not just about doing something. It's about making sure it's the right thing that meets the needs of the group. So it's the needs of those women who are looking. So they will help to shape that. And then our ultimate goal will be, is to then continue to roll that out, get the funding behind it so that we can reach more and more women who could really benefit from that program.
Now, Robert, if I've ever known a person to be a male ally to women in sport, you definitely fit that bill, because the work you do with your team, and your team are all women and they're all amazing, it is life-saving. But you also delve deep into finding out things. And I was recently at the launch of the menopause. I don't know what you called it properly, the menopause.
Moving through menopause.
Moving through menopause, thank you. And we all kind of begin now to understand that the ages and stages of women's lives have an impact on their physical and mental health. And I was fascinated by some of the things that came out. The speakers were amazing. So let me know what your thoughts were in that and what research turned up. And did you find anything surprising in the research?
Well, firstly, again, the reason this came about, we've really been working on this for well over a year, and working with the University of Edinburgh on it, Professor Ailsa Niven and Dr. Claire Fitzsimons, where Ailsa and I started to look at how we could work together. And we were really looking and hearing, and I was hearing different things. I'm in a really fortunate position that people share experiences with me. They talk through different things. And the really important thing that came from that is that it was people's voices that were helping us to shape our thinking about where we want to go. So we were hearing from more and more and more women who were actually talking about menopause with us. But what we recognised was that there wasn't huge amounts of research done on menopause, mental health, and physical activity in sport. So we wanted to really delve into that. We were hugely grateful. There was over 1,200 women who engaged in the survey. Over 650 of them completed the full survey, and we had an amazing group. We had 24 individuals who came into the focus group and gave their voice. I suppose you asked me there, what was something that surprised me? I suppose the thing that surprised me quite a bit was this point about education. You know, I expected things to come through about educating professionals or health professionals. I expected other people in the physical activity community that work in that points about educating them around menopause and that. But what really surprised me was women themselves turning around and saying, if I only had been told about this experience, if someone had educated me on this experience before I experienced menopause, that would have helped me hugely. So that was a real surprise to me. But on the back of that, we've now got an expert group of women experiencing menopause and others who are feeding into that are actually going to help design some of the stuff around education, around it, some of the resources and tools. So again, it's not just been about putting that research out. It's been about where can we go next with it and how can we play our part. And I want to make sure we push that through.
I mean, that's really good to hear, Robert. It definitely is. I'm going to take you back to a little bit previous conversation because we've got someone writing in asking, how do you, and I assume they mean Sam H, reach out to the suicidal man in the street, the man hiding in his home or in the pub? I mean, is that part of your role to do that? And when I say you, I mean Sam H. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's not just Sam H, it's everyone's role to help and reach out. That's why we have campaigns that we do. That's why we create toolkits for people to use. We provide information. There's huge amounts of information within our website that can help people within this space. Okay, but we also work with our partners. So you mentioned the football clubs that we're working with. So through that, we have supported a whole variety of messaging to encourage men and others to access these supports that are there, you know. And even in Sam H, we have an information line. So if you go onto our website, there's information where you can get the information line and you can reach out and get further information about what might be happening in your area or supports within your area. So we are trying a whole variety of different ways to engage people so that they can get the support. Because when you're in particular spaces, you can feel extremely isolated. You can feel extremely alone. You can feel you're the only person that's experiencing this. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, you are not alone. You may feel that, but you are not. Reach out. There are fantastic information there. There's fantastic support services and signposting. And you've also got people like the Samaritans and Breathing Space who are also doing a huge amount of this work within these areas as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Robert. Thank you very much. And any other comments, we are more than happy to take them. But let me turn to little cheerier times, coffee and cake. I think it's definitely, we're well known for having coffee and cake, and we have sorted all the problems in the world over a coffee and a cake. But we've come up with a very interesting project, and we've been working on it for a while. And I am absolutely delighted to be working with an organisation with such a credible job as Sam H. But I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to throw the buck over to you to have you explain it. Perhaps you could tell us a wee bit more about our women in sports leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to say this, Maureen, because this is what's really important about Scottish women in sport. And this is where, whilst over coffee and cake, you know, I remember the conversation we had, and we were talking about this, and again we were looking to say, you know, is there something that we could do in partnership that really champions and is about empowering women within a particular space or a program. And I remember you telling me that the gap between men in sports leadership and women in sports leadership is growing. And that was that kernel that just kicked this off for us and said, okay, we need to do something in this area. And you're right, we've been working on a program we spent the best part of 2 years. And that's been the most amazing 2 years, and particularly for my team. Big shout out to Kirsty and Tina and the team around this, because they have been massive champions in this. And the whole thing about this leadership was that we started and we asked women about this. And we asked if, should we be in this? Should we be bringing something to it? And over 90% of the young women that we surveyed come back and said, absolutely, and mental health is so important. And from that, we then started to build an expert group that you were part of and did. So we've now got a year-long mentorship program for young women. It's and I'm really pleased to say we will be launching it soon. So watch this space. A bit of teaser there, but watch this space. Yeah. And it's going to be available. So young women, 18 to 25. Can apply to be part of that. So we'll be launching that soon, and anyone across the whole of Scotland can apply to participate in that programme. So I'm absolutely delighted. And again, it's going to be looking at mental health, leadership, and how we can build skills and resources for young women, and to take that challenge on. Let's bridge that gap. Let's get more young women in sports leadership and bringing that rich voice.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a great synergy between bringing young women in leadership and looking after their mental health, because that has to be right to have them feel confident to go ahead and lead. And I think that's something which has come through in the research we've done, with the expert panels we've spoken to. And I'm very pleased with the way that the project has come together, and the workbook that we've got for the young girls. The feedback from the first stages of the pilot scheme has been great. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we can take this, and if we'll be sitting, you with a long beard and me with probably stronger glasses in years to come, having a successful programme. But I just want another a wee bit of credit to what's happening. So there's there's a WhatsApp group with about 250 in it, and they're also currently coming back and forward saying, I'm in the locker room. I love the locker room. So I think it's always good. It's good to get that validation, because you don't want to work in isolation, as you've said, Robert. You're doing it for people, and it's good to hear that it is making a difference to them.
It is, and remember, this is a program that's designed by young women for young women. So that again is at heart. And you're right. The sounding out thing that came out most from the research that we did was young women were telling us that self-belief, self-confidence, self-worth were major areas for them. So we've designed a program, and the pilot of the program really showed the difference that made, because we had someone that went on holiday and she's abroad. Yes. And she said, we're saying that's okay to miss it. And she said, absolutely not. And she's abroad on a beach, coming into the program. She's in the Teams, the Zoom, doing that, and that showed you that commitment. So I'm hugely excited about what's to come over the next year.
Yeah, I think we've got a bit of work ahead of us, but it's not put us off before. I think we're ready to get our sleeves up,
absolutely,
get stuck in, and hopefully just to make that bit more of a difference. Robert, I'm going to wind up, because as always, time flies, and it's just always a pleasure to speak to you.
You too.
But we've had our 20 minutes worth, and we're going on to speak to Andy Niven and his daughter Rowan now. So have a good Friday night, and I look forward to catching up to the next part of our Young Women in Sports Leadership programme.
You too, and thanks very much for inviting me along. It's lovely to speak to you. Take care.
It was lovely to see you again. Bye. Well, just like magic, I think we might have Andy and Rowan with us. Yeah?
Oh. Hello. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you two?
Yeah, good.
Right.
So,
Let me,
Yes.
let me give you your CV, Rowan, as if you don't know this, but I'm going to tell you. You're an elite junior squash player and you will be participating in the 2023 World Squash Federation World Junior Squash Championships. I don't know if I've got that exactly right. A lot of worlds there, isn't there? In Australia, from the 18th to the 29th of July, alongside your teammates, there's Robin McAlpine, there's Louisa Cavan, Anna Halliday. They'll all be competing in the team competition as well as the women's individuals, and you'll have Natalie Main at that point as well.
Yep.
Now, have I missed anybody out?
Nope, that's all.
Thank goodness for that. So this is the first time since 2005 that squash have sent a team. So that's quite a big responsibility on your shoulders.
2005. I was
Say that
born in
again?
2005. I was born in 2005, so it's miles away.
Oh, oh dear. So how excited are you for the trip, Rowan? Tell me what you're thinking.
So excited. I mean, it's been a long time coming. It kind of felt like a bit of a dream at first when we first were like chatting about it, because obviously it happens every year, but the teams and the individuals, it kind of rotates around. But yeah, no, it was like a blur last year, being like, oh, it's Australia next year. Like, wouldn't that be amazing if we got to go? And then now it's like we're going. Like, it's absolutely crazy.
You are giving me goosebumps. You definitely are. So what does it mean to you and the players to be going there you're going there to represent your country? That is a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's such a big opportunity, and we've all put so much hard work into it recently. Training's really ramped up, obviously, because it's such a big tournament, and this is our opportunity to perform, show our talents on this world stage, and we're all ready for it. So it means the world to us, and we're so thankful for the opportunity that people have given us and the support and whatnot.
So what does training look like? Because I take it it'll take up a lot of your time, and I assume you're still at school?
Not anymore. No, that's me finished with school. So
Good.
yeah, training's quite
full-time training.
Yeah, pretty much. Training and working, that's the life. But yeah, no, it's good. So I train through in Glasgow now about 3-4 times a week. So that's my actual training along with like technique stuff and whatnot. And then I'll have hits with other people, just kind of like getting a good like game in and just making sure that I'm kind of perfecting everything. And then along with that, I'm doing, CrossFit and trying to just keep like all my areas of fitness kind of up to a good level. And I think it's hard balancing it sometimes with like, friends and life after school, kind of everyone wanting to go out and party and all that sort of stuff. But I think I'm doing it quite well, but we'll see how it goes.
I think you sound like you get your head switched on in the right way. And of course, the other thing you have to think about is the altitude, the difference in the countries. Although with this lovely weather here, you could always kind of pretend it's Australia outside.
Exactly.
So let's have a word with your dad, Andy. You must be very proud of Rowan.
Yes, I mean, I think it kind of goes beyond proud. I think you kind of admire just the dedication of Rowan and the other girls, I think, to get to where they've got to. It's while squash might be a bit niche in Scotland, it's huge in Europe and even in the rest of the UK. And, as these guys have gone out there, they've put themselves out there on a European stage and they've delivered and they've picked up European titles. They're kind of heading up European rankings. And then they've come together as a team. And I think that this kind of the sense of team is incredibly strong because the nature of squash in Scotland is it's such a tight-knit community that these girls have actually known each other for 4 or 5 years and in some cases longer. I'm sure Rowan will tell you about that later. But, so they already have a natural bond, a natural friendship. And so, yeah, incredibly proud to see them actually get the opportunity to go and do this on the biggest stage, I suppose, that they've seen so far. So, yeah, I mean, it's worked hard to get there. But, whilst, parents are always very quick to say, yeah, look at everything that we're doing to make this happen. At the end of the day, it wouldn't be worth a button if the girls hadn't knuckled down and done the work and done the training and actually produced the results. Because it's a tough sport. It's very adversarial. It's a real coliseum. They're just the two of them in the middle of that court. Nobody else around. You've not got other teammates to hide behind. It's everything's out there for everybody to see. And it's I couldn't do it. I've tried squash. My knees finally gave up on me, but I couldn't do that. I would find the the pressure very difficult to deal with. But no, hats off to them. It's brilliant.
I have to say that for me, squash is one of my favourite organisations because we've worked with them for many years. And when we started off with Girls Do Sport, it was 6 or 7 years ago, squash really took that concept and they put it through everything that they've done. And I think they're one of the most gender balanced sports that I've got the pleasure to work with. But I'm just looking at a little comment here, and maybe this is to give you inspiration, Rowan, but they're talking about Billie Jean King breaking the mold for women in tennis. So you can go and break that mold for women in squash, I think. Yeah. So is this your first trip to Australia?
Yeah, no, never been. So it's a new continent for me. I'm excited to go and explore the world. No, it's very exciting.
So let's get down to the nitty gritty. How many of you are going? There's yourself and 4 other teammates?
So I've got myself, and then the women's team is me and 3 other girls. So there's a team of 4 that are going out for the women's teams. We've also got the individual championships, which is a completely different tournament, but still the world. And that's 5 of us. So it's the 4 that are in the team, and then another individual, which is Natalie Main. And then there's also some other men that are going out as well from Scotland.
Coaches, I would take it. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Parents, if they decide to come, quite expensive.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, that is quite a lot of people and quite a lot of money. And I think your dad's slightly going a bit grey, so I'm thinking... So it must be, I mean, I know, Andy, you have been working hard. You and the other parents and your wife, you've all been working hard to fundraise, because as much as Scottish Squash can help you, it's still a commitment for the parents to really get in there and raise the funds. Give me a wee idea about some of the things you've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I think before I go into that, I think just to reiterate, the support of Scottish Squash has been brilliant. Scottish Squash have a finite budget, and that's got to be spread across a lot of different players, across a lot of different competitions, and they really do what they can to get all the junior players exposed to as high level competition as they can. But the Worlds is a step too far for that budget just now. So yeah, we knew we were going to have to look at more creative means of raising the funds to send a team. And so we kind of sat down at the start of this journey with the girls themselves and with the coaches and just said, look, give us some ideas. What kind of things do you think we should do? So we've done everything from race nights at the local clubs where we've been racing imaginary horses, and I was the bookie. And I think I might have overpaid out a few bets. I might have cost you a few quid there. We did race nights, we had raffles. The girls have all done backpacks at supermarkets, which I was surprised that people even these days still had change in their pockets, but they were brilliant. We've done social media campaigns. They've got a GoFundMe page, which has been brilliant. That's helped to raise money. Charity exhibition matches. So some of the Scottish professional players were good enough to donate their time to play an exhibition match, and we sold tickets for that. And then combined that with a dinner and auction in Edinburgh, and had some fantastic prizes up for auction that have been donated by companies across Scotland, not just close to the girls. And then I think the most recent one we've got is we're doing a silent auction soon, which will be online probably the next week or so. Again, with some brilliant prizes. We've got sort of golf 4 balls and stuff. So yeah, it's been a challenge having to kind of go around and start those conversations with different businesses, because you're never really sure how to pitch it. But actually, we just started by telling the girls' story, and I think that was enough to get companies interested and businesses interested. We even reached out to Judy Murray locally, because we're in Dunblane, and so there's a local connection there, and so she made some good suggestions about kind of people to contact and how to go about fundraising and things. So it's been good. I've been pleasantly surprised at how many people were willing to help and put in the time. And I think both parents and the girls and extended family have really stepped up to kind of help move them along. We're not there yet, but every little bit helps. And yeah, it's been brilliant.
Well, I'm going to delve a wee bit deeper into your fundraising, but just to say Jacqueline's wishing you all to have a fantastic time in Oz. And Jacqueline, thanks for the support in terms of the gender equality in sport. We're working hard to get there, so thank you for your support there. And someone else is telling me that there's some new resurfaced courts opening in Newlands, so squash is spreading, it's growing all the time. But you can't just dangle that little carrot about that auction. What have you got and how can we get in and bid for it? Tell us how we can do all this. It would be great to know.
Yeah, so we'll share the auction link on social media, and maybe Maureen, I don't know if you'd be good enough to share it once we've got the link.
Happy to do so, yes.
We're working the final designs now, but we've got prizes. We've got a 4-ball donated by St Andrews Links Trust.
That's amazing.
It's good. So being a golfer myself, I'll be speaking to my father about that one. So you need to get that. We've got signed jerseys. Glasgow Warriors are doing some stuff for us, which is brilliant to appeal to those from the West. We've got professional squash players have donated rackets, signed rackets, etc. to put in. So there's going to be a fair old range of prizes. I think this hopefully is our final push before the girls get up sticks and head off to Australia. I'm not going to go. I'm just going to wave a goodbye and just put my hands over my eyes and fingers in my ears and hope it all goes well.
So, I mean, when you're in Australia and when you're out there competing, can people watch it when they're at home? How do we get to know what's happening?
It should be live streamed. I think a lot of big tournaments these days, so all the bigger ones in Europe are usually live streamed. And I think this is like the biggest tournament junior-wise of the year. It will definitely, I think pretty much all the matches will be live streamed. So I think it's probably YouTube would be the best place to get it. But it's great for just kind of getting family members and whatnot to kind of watch you and all that. It's great.
So tell me a little bit more about the friendship you have with your team, because as well as your friends, you're going to be competitors because you're playing one-on-one. So how does that work? How do you come off the court and still remain friends?
I think it's quite a strange relationship from like day one. But you learn how to deal with it because you're so constantly near each other and you're always playing against them. So it's like you have this competitive nature to want to, always striving to beat them, and with that comes a bit of like anger and whatnot. So there can be like tough times, but I think because you're always with each other and you realize that you're all in the same boat, we're all from the same country, and then when you go to all these big events, you're all representing one country together, and it kind of just all brings you so much closer. And just with training and the support from Scottish Squash, you're just so tight knit, I think. And one of the friends who's going to the Worlds with us, Anna Halliday, I've known her since I was primary school. Oh no, even nursery.
Preschool, I think. Yeah.
So I've been friends with her forever. So it's like a constant friendship, and squash has kind of held that together, which has been really good. And you make so many different friends along the way as well. It's such a lovely sport for that, I think.
And what an experience to share with your friends. So tell me, do any of you have superstitions? I know a lot of sports people have superstitions. Are you going to let us into some secrets?
I mean, it's kind of just small things I would do on court. I mean, it's not necessarily beforehand. I think I always keep my warm-up the same. I'm very kind of superstitious with that. I have to do the same warm-up before every single match. Otherwise, I get paranoid. I have to hold my racket always with like a certain logo facing a certain way. It's just really small things like that, but I feel like everyone's the same. It's like things you've always done, so you can't change it. I mean, we have like some of these little stuffed animal like mascots that we bring, like a Nessie or something like that, that we'll take to tournaments.
Oh, that's brilliant. So I was going to say, what's your ambition? Because I mean, I know Lisa Aitken and I know Georgia. In fact, Georgia was part of our expert panel when I was speaking to our previous guest, Robert Nesbitt, and just amazing young women. I mean, Dad, in squash, it must be great to have your child come through that, because it does give them such a grounding in life.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think when all our kids were young, I mean, we didn't really focus them on a specific sport. You try and throw lots of different sports at them and hope that something sticks eventually.
Yeah.
And it was squash for Rowan, and at the time I was surprised. I was like, wow, squash, okay, let's see where this goes. And it's been an extraordinary journey. It really has. The places we've gone, both individually and, sometimes if there's been a European tournament somewhere that the girls are going to, you get on EasyJet, you find a cheap ticket, and you go along and you make a wee family weekend out of it. You know, it's dragged us around Europe and around the country. We've had long drives down south to Wales and to Pontefract and stuff to play in English competitions. So, you know, it's been brilliant. And I think looking back, I don't think I would ever have guessed this is where it would end up. But it was just extraordinary. And I think Anna, Around's friend, who she grew up with, you know, we lived in Crieff at the time, and they started up a little junior squash club in Crieff. And it's been incredible how many great young squash players have come out of such a small community. Rory Stewart is one. He's playing at the Commonwealth Games, and it's very strange. You get a good coach in one area, and then suddenly you get 3 or 4 or 5 really good young players coming through. And I think sort of Rowan and Anna were just other ones to benefit from other people's skills, I think, there. So yeah, it was great. I couldn't see it coming. My youngest son, he's trying to get into squash, but he's not finding it nearly as coming quite as easily to him. But yeah, it's all good, and it's a great community. I think as parents, you know, we go through, whilst the girls go through the mill on the court, you know, we go through the mill off the court. There's a lot of nail biting going on. I think we have our own superstitions, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But it does create a good sense of camaraderie amongst the parents as well, because you know you've all had the ups and the downs, and you know you're winning one week and you're consoling somebody the next week. You know, so it's always there as either a shoulder to cry on or to help cheer along. But yeah, it's good. And just, you know, in some respects, I wish I could be in Australia, but
Oh, I'm sure you do. Yes.
But it's a real rite of passage for the girls. I think, you know, they're all coming towards their late teen, you know, sort of 16, 17, 18 years old. It's a great opportunity to go out there and actually find some independence and just, you know, prove that they don't need parents at the back.
Yeah.
Them on.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely rings a bell. I don't know how many parents, you know, have supported their children through all their sport, because, you know, that's what they need. They need mums and dads to support them. So whilst you're sitting there and Rowan's got the skill and the ability, she couldn't have done it without you and your wife. So, I mean, well, I'm going to tell her that as well. Rowan, you would not be where you are without your mum and dad.
Nowhere without them. I'd be nowhere, that's for sure.
Your taxi bill would be terrible.
Oh,
So I take it you're proud of them, because not only have they enabled you to play a sport that you love, but they're now enabling you to go to the other side of the world and represent your country.
yeah,
So
no, it's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
a big shout out to all the parents that have helped support it. And we've got someone here saying it's a great feeling as a parent to see your children succeed in any sport, particularly if you started coaching them. But I don't think that's happened there, Andy, have you? You're not being coached.
I would like to say there was some coaching going on, but no, it's all been moral support. And
I think we'll have the truth here. I think we'll have the truth. Well, let me just say, I think you're doing an amazing thing. I'm really proud of you. I'll keep my eye on you so you can keep us in social media, and we will retweet. So have you got an ambition? Because you're only what age are you?
18, just turned 18.
18. What's the ambition?
Well, I think I want to continue squash definitely when I'm going off to uni. And I do want to take it professional, so I can join the professional sort of league soon, which I have to pay a bit of money for, but it's then start doing all these professional tournaments around Europe. And then, so I'd like to see how far I could take it, because I really do want to continue it along with my studies at uni. I think that'd be really beneficial for myself, just as a little kind of outlet as well as kind of, you know, fun and tournament night and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think I want to probably go professional. It kind of feels the right direction for me to go right now. It feels quite natural. It's like kind of the right way.
But then you become self-funded, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of prize money, are we looking at the sort of balance, the same balance for men and women in squash? Are we still getting a balance there?
I think it's quite similar. I don't think it's as split as it used to be back in the day. I think now it's pretty much even. A lot of the big tournaments, like the biggest ones, like the senior world championships and whatnot, they're all evenly split, which is really good. But yeah, I couldn't tell you much about the smaller ones, I think. I hope so. I hope it's the same.
I think that's something you mentioned it right at the start, Maureen, that with the work that Scottish squash do to drive equality within the sport. Actually, I think squash in general is far further forward than a lot of sports that I watch and that we're aware of. And I think that's reflected then down to the national federations. I think there's a real recognition of equality, both in terms of the quality and the quantity of the matches and the amount of work that they have to put in. And so I think, whilst squash is nowhere near other sports like tennis in terms of the amount of money that's available, I think in terms of how they treat the athletes, I think they're really getting that right. And that's good to see.
Well, let me just finish up by giving another wee shout out to the team, because you're not going on your own. So, Robin, congratulations and good luck to you. To Robin McAlpine, Louisa Caven, Mr. Anna, is Anna Halliday?
Anna Halliday.
Anna Halliday and Natalie Mean. Good luck to you all. I hope all your travels go well. We've got quite a few folk come on saying good luck. We're all rooting for you. So the last thing to say is, in terms of how we can help, and I mean the wider public listening here, it's looking out for this social media link for your last big fundraiser, your silent auction.
Yeah, so we have a GoFundMe page. So if you just search Scottish Squash on GoFundMe, you'll find the girls there. And then, yes, we'll advertise the silent auction through everybody's Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts and everything. Once that's up and running, so keep an eye out for that.
Absolute good luck to you. And if you're ever at a loose end for fundraising, I know that Scottish Women in Sport would take your expertise at any time because you're doing a grand job.
Great backpacking.
You want to have a lie down now, don't you?
Absolutely.
Listen, thank you for joining me. We're delighted to have you here tonight and to hear your story. And please keep in touch. So that's Andy and Rowan. You're welcome.
Cheers.
See you later.
Bye-bye. So tonight, people, we're going to finish off our night. And I mean, it's not last and least. As you fine well know, Kirsty, that could never be the case where you're concerned. So a little bit of transparency up front. Kirsty is the CEO of Scottish Sports Future. And it's an organisation that I have been actually proud to be involved with for the past 8 years. And I think I've chaired it for maybe 5 of those years. We've lost count, Kirsty, haven't we?
I know.
But if I'm going to ask anybody about what happens in Scottish Sports Futures, I'm going to ask you, because you'll get your finger in the pulse across everything. So first of all, for anyone who doesn't know what Scottish Sports Futures does, because we're not just about sport, and I hope you don't mind us using the we, because I feel it's like you, me, and everybody.
Definitely us. We're in it together.
We're a bigger team, aren't we? So you tell us what we do.
So what we do is, well, first of all, our vision is we believe that every single young person deserves the opportunity to fulfill their potential. And we use sport as our tool to be able to work with them, to engage them, to move them on to a place that they determine to be positive in their life. So sport is the amazing thing that we use, but really the outcomes are what we want to achieve. It can be vast and varied, and it really, really is. So we work in communities that are challenged or they're affected by poverty, and we purposefully talk about the community and not the individuals, with young people that have potentially experienced the side effects of living in poverty or experienced trauma, adversity. And we work with them to build their skills, their confidence, their self-esteem, to give them qualifications so that they can either go on and participate in sport, and some of them will want to do that, or go back into school or college or university. And we work with them for as long as they need our support. And sport is such an amazing thing to build confidence and self-esteem. We actually work alongside SAMH, you heard from Robert earlier, because it's really important to us that we look at the whole person. So mental health and well-being and confidence is one of the main things that we work on through our programmes.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, we have had a great expansion in the past couple of years. So you're now covering a lot more of Scotland than you did before. What areas are you working in at the moment?
So we've got 2 strands to what we do. One is, I like to call it our triangle of our provision. That's our programmes. So we're focused in North Ayrshire, Glasgow, Stirling and Fife, and we've got teams of people based there and lots of different programmes so that we can work with young people for as long as they need us. But we deliver a whole programme of modules of training, education and training right across Scotland. And in the last year, we were in, I think, every single local authority. So we've got those two strands.
I think perhaps the sort of catalyst for Scottish Sports Futures to a certain extent was 2014.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Especially with the expansion you've talked about, working in the East End of Glasgow, trying to create a legacy from the Commonwealth Games. But fundamentally, it came down to actually supporting young people to get involved and working with lots of different organisations. And the common thing that we found was we really want to reduce health inequalities. We want young people to go on and achieve whatever they can. So that was really eye-opening, and that's actually what took us from previously being a basketball-focused organisation to being multi-sport. We wanted to, a bit like Rowan's dad was just saying there, we want to give young people as many opportunities and to try as many sports and activities as possible. Some of the areas that we will be working in, unfortunately, there's just not that many opportunities, or sometimes the families are experiencing quite a lot of things, so sport is not their big priority. So we work to ensure that we can give as many opportunities and work with as many organisations as we possibly can to ensure that young people get as much experience as they can. So yeah, absolutely, the Commonwealth Games was a huge catalyst for that. It allowed us loads of opportunities to work with lots of different sports and actually to take young people to experience sports. So right at the high end performance level, and then going back to right in the communities, what can we introduce? So yeah, it's been amazing. The rapid expansion, I would say, over the last few years.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say we have to give a shout out to Ian Reid, who was the founder of the organisation. I think, are we talking 20 years ago?
23 years now we've existed.
Gosh, and he's only about 39 himself, so we'll love that bit if he comes in. But Ian did a wonderful job. But you've come in as CEO and you've taken it by the horns, you've expanded it, but you can't do everything for everybody. So what are your priorities at the moment?
No, we really can't. Actually, I see the question there about volunteers. Young leaders is a massive priority for us. So that pathway from young people participating to then have an opportunity to become young leaders and then potentially into employment with ourselves or other organisations. So that is a big priority. We know in Scotland there's been a pandemic, obviously, across the world. There's a bit of a cost of living crisis, and the effects of that for some of our young people are low attainment in school. So a big focus for us is being able to support people into a sustained positive destination. So actually going back into school, achieving qualifications, supporting them to get a job. That is a massive priority for us. But equally, as the theme of this show, equality, diversity, inclusion, that is also massive for us. We know that there's huge need in the communities that we work in, and we want to ensure that the people that we have working for us or that are participating in our programmes do actually equally represent the communities that we're working with. So both of those are a huge focus, and within that, as I said, there's mental health and well-being. That is a huge focus of what we do.
I think, bringing in this sort of women and girls aspect of it, I'm aware of the programmes that you do. I'm aware of the excitement surrounding the programmes that are coming up. Yeah. But what I've always found that there's a lot of thought given into how it impacts on the individuals. And I remembered a particular course that happened in Govan for young women from a diverse background, and taking into account all of what had to happen to enable them to feel comfortable and to be allowed by their families to participate in sport. Now, you managed it. You did it. It's not about there's a hurdle, what will we do? It's about there's the solution. And that's what I think Scottish Sports Futures does very well. Tell me a wee bit about some of your girls or one of your girls' programmes.
That's exactly what we try to do, is really understand what are the barriers, what's stopping girls participating. We know that there's around 60% of girls, just generally girls, don't participate or don't meet the daily guidelines for physical activity. We know that actually that figure is higher in areas of deprivation, and we know that that's even higher for girls from an ethnically diverse background. So we wanted to address that. So we worked with some experts. We worked with SEMSA in Glasgow, who support girls from lots of different ethnically diverse backgrounds. And we just went out and spoke to girls. That's always important to us, to actually consult, not make assumptions. There's loads of research out there, but actually it's what does that mean for individuals? So with the most recent, the programme that we did in Govan was amazing. Such good learning about what makes a safe and inclusive space, talking to families about actually just us building relationships, so they had confidence when the girls were coming along. They could just be themselves, that we could give girls a safe place to be really active and try lots of different activities. We've got a recent project that is funded through the Sweaty Betty Foundation, and that all came about actually going to meet the Minister for Sport, Marie Todd. We did a bit of consultation with girls, going on a train up to Inverness to meet the Minister, and just talking to them about their experiences in sport, what how they felt other girls who maybe weren't active could get more active. So then we decided, let's put together a programme, and through the Sweaty Betty Foundation, they had a Girls on the Pitch initiative. So our girls who are leaders could then design a programme, pitch to get some money, and then deliver their own programme. So really that cyclical process is brilliant, because we kind of knew the learning from previous programmes, but we spoke to girls now about what they thought could be a really good programme to get girls who weren't active involved, and then giving them the opportunity to actually design their programme, get the funding in themselves, and be the leaders on that programme. That's role models for the girls that are coming along, and that's such an important part of what we do. So yeah, that is really exciting, and I think it's not really that innovative, is it? But it's really exciting for us, and I think it's those simple things that other people can replicate as well, and the outcomes of that are just massive. Robert spoke earlier about confidence, self-esteem, well-being. In turn, that means that our girls will be more likely to participate in education. One of the girls actually from Fife is just up for an award recognised by the school, and prior to her engaging with us, she wasn't actually attending school. So it's amazing. The power of sport.
But I think what comes through as well, particularly for girls, because sport as a word can sometimes turn off young girls, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's a surprising thing. You get fit, you're having fun. So you spoke about awards. I'm going to jump, because I've got a wee list of questions here, but you have the most wonderful awards night with lots of young people there. In fact, do you know what? I'm going to take that word wonderful out, and I'm going to put in emotional. Because every story you hear is a success story of a young child, male or female, that have come through some terrible, terrible situations in life. They've overcome, and they're up in that stage, and they're quite confident. So tell me about your awards night, and tell me, when is the next one? I mean, I should know these things, but I don't. And I know you're like every other organisation, you need support. So let's have a little chat around that.
We do. Our awards night, I think it's quite unique because we have our young people, like you say, and we work with them throughout the year, and they're nominated across lots of different categories. So it's to celebrate their stories and their journeys, and they are really inspirational. They're incredible young people, every single one of them. So that's quite an emotional process, even get to the point where there's winners being celebrated on the night. But we also bring their families along, we bring our partners, and then we bring people who maybe would like to invest in us. So any corporate partners, we get awards sponsored. So I think it's quite unique in the way that we have all of those people in the room at the same time. So our next awards is February. We tend to make it annual, so our next awards will be February, based in Glasgow. We don't have an exact date, but it'll probably be one of the last Fridays in the year. We will start selling tickets pretty soon, because it's always a sold out night, and we're really, really keen that continues. Lots of opportunities as well. Actually, just hearing from Rowan and our dad, it was inspiring me to do more of an auction on the night, and to make it as great and fun as it possibly can be. And that's really important for us, that it is a fun night, that it is inspirational, but it's an opportunity for us to raise the profile of the organisation, which is so important.
So a little shout out to any organisations there that would like information to maybe sponsor award or even donate something for the auction. And if they want to contact me through Scottish Women in Sport, which might be easier, they can. But again, SSF, Scottish Sports Future, is not difficult. So that would be good. So I wondered if I could just ask you, there's loads and loads. As a board, we hear all these particular stories, and whilst you're going through them, they can be difficult to listen to, but there's always a great outcome. Is there one that springs to mind that you wouldn't mind sharing with us, a success story?
I mean, one of the most recent ones is a girl. we have so many stories. Every single young person we work with, I have to say, it's a privilege and an honour. They're exceptional, amazing young people. And you can read all about them or hear their stories on our YouTube channel. But one in particular is Chloe. She joined us during the Commonwealth Games. So that's where we really kick-started our Young Leaders programme, and we wanted to hear from local young people about what was actually happening in our community. And at that point, it was the East End of Glasgow. So Chloe, actually, when we designed the programme, we thought 14 is probably quite a good age, and 14 up to 25. Chloe was 13, so straight away we had to lower that age range because she was so keen. She kept coming into the office and putting her hand up and saying, I want to be part of this programme. So we did. We lowered the age range, and she joined. She joined in every activity. She was really honest about what was happening in her life at that point. She wasn't having a great time at school. She felt pretty isolated. The community that she was from, she just felt there wasn't really anything for her. She didn't really have many friends. That sounds really sad, but she says this in her own words as well, that was what was happening in her life. So that's maybe one of the reasons that she engaged and really did get involved in any opportunity that we had. Very, very vocal about what she wanted to see happen. So she was one of the first champions saying we need girls only activity, we need to have something in every community, we need to deliver sport right where young people are. So at the age of 16, she worked with us and got some funding and lobbied her local councillor to set up a youth club, which was all about sport in its widest sense, right in the heart of her community, which is Baillieston. 16 years old doing that is just exceptional. She really wanted to continue volunteering with us, but also then progress to become an essential member of staff. So in 2018, so this was back in 2014. In 2018, we started to do some work with SAMH around the Charter for Mental Health, which is a nice segue from Robert speaking. And we just asked people, it's either young people, what do you want us to focus on? It can be anything. And Chloe was part of the very vocal group that said mental health. There's a huge stigma. People don't talk about it. Some of our friends are really struggling. So what can we do? So Chloe, along with some other young people, worked with Robert from SAMH to create some content that they could then go out and deliver to other young people around well-being, around stress, anxiety, depression, in a way that was really engaging, because they were like, young people want something that's fun. Back to your point, it needs to be fun. We need to reduce the stigma, so we need to talk about mental health and talk about everything within that, but it needs to be delivered by us so that other young people can open up and have those open discussions and not feel embarrassed or embarrassed to ask questions to learn more. So then Chloe decided that she kept working for us. She was part of that programme. She decided then that she wanted to go on to university. She's actually just finished university now. I'm so proud of her. She's so incredible. We nominated her a couple of years ago to get an MBE, which was because of everything she'd done and everything she had achieved. During the pandemic, she continued volunteering for us. She felt so passionate that she wanted young people not to suddenly be isolated, or we couldn't do things face to face. So she worked very hard and led on the changing of everything that we normally do face to face to be digital and online, ensuring that it was fun and engaging. And really that has to come from young people to make sure that it would be really relevant. So yeah, she led on all of that. And in January, I was very privileged to go along with her to receive an MBE. So that's one. There's not many stories that are that exceptional, but she really is. And she's such a role model for every young person that we would ever work with. So that's one that really sticks out. She's amazing.
Well, we've got just under 2 minutes left to chat, Kirsty, and if I had a magic wand, I would have another hour so we could chat and we could tell people about the other aspects of the wonderful work that happens. But I'm going to give you the magic wand, and I'm going to ask you, if you had this magic wand, what would you do to make life better for young women and girls and boys, for young people? What would you do? The world's your oyster.
First of all, because of the work we do, eradicate poverty. That just wouldn't exist. But then discrimination, I'm going to go for world peace, but I just want there to be equality.
This isn't your award speech, and thanks if you don't mind.
You've given me the platform, Maureen. But I I've got a daughter that's about to be 11, and she tells me that sometimes she feels embarrassed in certain sports and things. So I just wish there was genuine equal opportunity for everyone. So I'm lucky that in the job I've got a platform and a voice to try and make that happen. But that would be my magic wand. No poverty, no discrimination, and actual equality.
You do it very well. Listen, I've got to say thank you for taking time out on your Friday night.
Thank you.
And I've really appreciated it. And it's lovely to chat to you this way.
I know.
So time's beaten us, and I think it's time for me to say goodbye. So I've got to say some thank you. So thank you to Robert from Sam H, and look forward to our work together. Thank you to Andy and Rowan, and also thank you to you, Kirsty. Huge thanks to Michael for handing over his show and for trusting us with the show, and of course also to Graham. So thank you all, and it's goodbye from Scottish Women in Sport for the Indie Locker Women in Sport. So thank you to all for joining us, and goodbye.
You're listening to a Locker Room special on Indie Live